projects with a similar feature are encountered, these details could assist the jury in taking more objective decisions, which one is green, which one is better. Naturally, we are looking for a better project. The CCGR form looks at 144 different criteria under 12 and 1 category, that is 12 standard questions and answers and 1 additional category, which basically helps the jury members to grade and provide the points, weightages to the project, or rather the points are provided through the rating system, and that points are given. Each criteria has a specific weightage in the comprehensive rating matrix to compare the greenness of the project or structure and rate them on a comparable scale. Rating is done by adding the points scored to arrive at green score of the project structure. Basically, what happens is there are 144 questions, different questions. Either you have that in your project, or if you don't have in that project, or it is not applicable. There could be 3 possibilities. 1, you are doing that, 1, you are not doing that, and 1, it is not applicable. In case if you are not doing that, it is 0. If you are doing that, it has a score. If it is not applicable, it has a score. So added them all put together, you get a full score, and that score tells where do you stand in that rating scenario. Basically, this would help in award evaluation by comparing the numericals of each project in the same category. Let's say somebody has applied for HSE category. All the HSE category projects could be compared, and the project receiving the higher score under the CCGR process obviously benefits because of that number. The respondents are to provide true details so that a real picture could be presented to the jury. We expect you to be fair enough or to be honest so that we are able to give a better picture to the evaluators. For VKI requirements, project under evaluation shall be accorded initial green grades on the basis of self-declarations. Whatever you have declared, we will accept that as a true declaration and provide a green grade. Such initial grades would demonstrate the quality of work and that way assist us in honoring the respondents for their quality works. For detailed evaluation, an in-depth rating exercise would be conducted during the award surveillance period or later, as the case may be. In this in-depth evaluation would be providing detailed green rating certification, defining the evaluated greenness of grade achieved by the project or entity. Such certificates could be used by the respondents, awardees, in demonstrating the greenness of their works in their testimonials and other credentials. Wherever you want to use that, you can go ahead and use that as well. So it would be a win-win situation that we are able to evaluate, and if there are 2 projects competing with each other, we can define or we can go wherever the greener project is coming in. Now I believe the audio is also there, or audio is still missing. Neeraj? Somebody has commented about the audio. Audio is all right. Thank you. So the intent of conducting this particular workshop is to explain the basic protocol or the process by which this form has to be completed, and by filling this form, where you are reaching. If you have certain inputs which are specific for your project, they come in. If they are not in your project and not applicable, entry comes in. If you are not following that, but they are still applicable, then you say no, and that basically means you don't score those points or those particular credits for that those set of criteria. Now, the criteria categories are basically these one: site, environmental protection, construction methodologies and processes, materials usage during construction, energy investment during construction, energy expenses during construction or usage, sorry, indoor environmental quality, renewable energy, waste management during construction, waste management during usage, water usage and recycling, operation and maintenance, and innovation and performance enhancement. This last one is something which gives you freedom to present your own innovative methods by which you are green, you were green, and you will be green. So all these things are covered in that criteria, and this defines the carbon footprint, expense, or carbon situation of your project. This would also help in kind of demonstrating to the consumer or user of the project that look here, the project is green. This can be helpful when cases like the project is being used, or rather the structure is being used, and at that stage, the structure is not functioning properly. You can actually, or rather your consumer or your user of the structure can actually look at the things, and based on that can go ahead and define that why his project is still green, or what kind of protective or preventive measures he can take so that his project remains green and he does not land up with that green tribunal's penalty and all. So let's look at the site selection and design. I believe most of you did not have any problem in this particular section, because this is something which basically defines how the site is selected, how the site is operated. There are these questions, I believe, and these questions define how many? There are 18 questions in all. They basically define various aspects linked with the site selection criteria and design works. I think what we can do is, since it is a workshop, would you people like to be speaking or talking to me, or you would like to speak to me at the end of the end of my talk? Mr. Vishwanath says, please unmute us. So if we can put Mr. Vishwanath on unmute. Neeraj? Mr. Sunil Dakate, you're also, I think, but you're on mute, I believe. Okay, better I finish and then we can discuss. Fine, that's a better idea. Otherwise, it may become, we may end up just talking and not reaching anywhere. So, the criteria what we're talking is the site has to be in conformity with the development master plan, the guidelines, the requirements, the coastal zone, zonal areas. For most of the projects, this particular topic or this particular point is already addressed the moment a DPR, DFR, or even any approval, proper approval has been granted. In case if it has not been granted, unfortunately, that project would be receiving some kind of noting from the governing organization, which could be the CRZ or Green Tribunal or anybody. So basically, you yourself have to be aware that if your project is in that zone or not. The selected site should be located within half a kilometer radius of the access location so that people could come and go back. That is something which you can see and define accordingly. Site development uses previously developed site. If you don't have to demolish and excavate or change the site strata, it would always be greener. So look at that. Did you use a project as, did your project require a development or it was already developed area? Development uses reclaimed land. If there is a reclaimed land, that would be better for the basic matter. All these points which are mentioned in the form define that each plus gives you a point score, and added that put together will bring you to a value which will be aggregate. Somewhere it will be 0, somewhere it will be 1. So it is basically a binary system where 0 or 1 will be accorded. Site contamination assessment on developed or reclaimed land and implementing measures for rehabilitation as necessary, and or proper preparation of sites and structures adjacent to the landfill sites. Neighborhood services are sufficient to provide for basic needs of the site and user. You have to see, evaluate your own site and decide, are you meeting these criteria or not? Please do not worry even if you don't meet, you may mention it there. And please also do not worry if you mentioned, we would not be checking. We would check it if we go for an in-depth evaluation of the project site. Availability of adequate open space and existing recreational facilities for the users. Site design appraisal report, which demonstrates a proactive approach to achieve greater integration at site planning issues. Development does not have negative impact on site's cultural heritage if applicable. Designs that demonstrate how landscaping and other site design strategies minimize the ecological impact for greenfield sites or contributes positively for the ecological values of the brownfield sites. Utilization, use of previous materials for the minimum of 50% of hard landscape areas, reduce elevated temperatures in exposed public areas due to site layout and choice of materials. Many of these topics could be applicable when we are talking about smart city projects, which have applied, could be applied for urban projects, which have applied. In case you are having a greenfield project in some distant area, some of the topics might not be applicable. So in that case, not applicable entry can go in. A site development must have no negative impact on the neighboring buildings, structures, or whatever we have in respect of access to daylight, views, and natural breezes. There have been instances where you construct a quite reflective building and it will heat up the environment around the building, and that basically means it's not that green. Provide safe and efficient access to vehicles entering and leaving the site, how the total site has been situated or created. Zoning of area on site is appropriate to the existing site features, that is slopes, vegetation, water bodies, and other natural formations which are not destroyed, and basically they are conducive for the construction work. Total paved area of site and the parking, roads, paths, or any other usage do not exceed 25% of the site area so that groundwater can percolate. You have to have, if you are having the rainwater harvesting system, it can have proper collection and proper percolation in the ground. Total surface parking not to exceed the capacity permitted by the law, and ensure access to the facilities by services by adopting appropriate site planning, eliminate barriers as per NBC 2005 and now 2020, the latest NBC which is in force. So these are the matters linked with the site selection, and you can take a clear decision whether your project is meeting with these requirements or not. If it is not, or if it's missing on some points, put 0 or put no, and then to score a 0. If yes, put yes. But believe you me, in surveillance, we can come and evaluate that, and we would expect that all the declarations would be fair and honest, so that you do not get, I mean, like nobody gets an undue advantage. So based on that, we move ahead. So this was the first criteria. Then comes the environmental protection, how I protect my environment. If my project is protecting the environment, that means my destruction to the total habitat will be least. And if that happens, it will be most beneficial thing for the humankind, for the society living around across the project work. Now what we are looking at here are the basically 6 points. The proper implementation of staging and spill prevention plan, effective erosion and sedimentation control to prevent soil erosion. I'll give you an example. If you are doing a pipeline construction work, and in pipeline construction work, if it is a tunnel boring machine or tunnel boring project, you may be having TBM going in and bringing out the slurry which has to be disposed. If you are disposing it properly, fine. If you are not, there is a possibility that that slurry might be flowing on the road or flowing on the ground surface and damaging the whole environment around your project. So in case if you are positive in this, that means you have taken basic actions, or you have taken consideration into that particular environmental impact of your effluent and preventing its damage. Carry out detailed site analysis and ensure sustainable site planning. The site planning has been done in a way that it is sustainable and with the least impact on the environment, integration of building envelope system, which optimizes the integrity of the envelope over the building life. Preserve topsoil by employing measures described in the technical background. Preserve existing vegetation by means of non-disturbance or damage to trees and other forms of vegetation, or trees, plants replanted within site premises in a ratio of 1:3. That is, you excavate 1, plant 3. If your success rate is even 30%, still you'll be at least equating the plantation. Proper topsoil laying for supporting the vegetative growth. These 6 topics we have chosen or we have defined for the environmental protection field. So in case if your project is able to meet, or rather is able to provide these 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 or whatever parameters, or try meeting those criteria, say yes and move ahead. The next set of criteria is proper stabilization of soil. Provision in the contract document for the contractor will undertake the responsibility to prevent air pollution. You have to contain the air pollution, and that is one wish I have, or I have a dear wish, that if we are able to prevent the air pollution, at least we would not be ending up with situations like Delhi, where the AQI reached to 800 and 900 points. It was really pathetic and maybe detrimental to people's lives. So whatever best we can do. Climate responsive building design, so that it is meeting the climate requirements. Obtrusive light from the exterior lighting meets the specified parameters of the environmental zone in which the site development is located. The carbon fluorochlorocarbide, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, that is HCFCs and CFCs, are not used in your air conditioning systems if you are using those, or if you have to install those in your project. All the HVAC and refrigeration requirements are free of CFCs and SCFCs, and all the fire suppression systems and the fire extinguishing are installed in the building are free of halon. So if your systems are those, please indicate that. If they are not, you have points for each of these categories, and based on these categories, these points, the score will be evaluated. The next comes the construction methodology. How do I apply the process? How do I construct my project? And the process behind it. Here what we are talking is, basically, in all, 9 points are there in construction methodologies. Ensure proper timing of construction with respect to rain, confine construction activity to pre-designated areas, execution of all construction activities as per their respective method statements, employment of certified skilled labor, compliance with national building NBC norms on construction safety for ensuring safety during construction, adopt measures to prevent air pollution in the vicinity of site due to construction activities, provision of health sanitation facilities, reduction of water consumption by 30 to 50%, efforts to minimize potable water use during construction, demolition and construction management plan, including provisions of environmental monitoring and auditing. Now, recently I've been to a project, I would not name the project, but then in the project, the water was used for some process of curing. That water was actually reused multiple times. So that particular process comes under the construction methodology, where we are talking about reduction in the water consumption by 30 to 50%. So we have to see to it that these things are being done. Please mind it that if your project has a method statement, defined method statement of different activities, 99% you would be meeting these requirements, provided your method statement has been prepared properly, approved and implemented properly. If it is not implemented, whatever you have written on the paper is waste. But if you have a method statement, 99% you will be meeting all these requirements, all these points. So this is what is my input when we talk about the methodologies and processes. The next set is the materials used during construction. Now here comes usage of the local material. When my project requires some material which can be taken from the local area, That basically means I'm not talking about shipping the material from a far off area, far off place, and spending energy for that. I'm utilizing the least possible investment or least possible cost and environmental cost basically. Then comes the reuse of the 15 to 30% of the more existing substructure or shell. If I'm using material which is locally somehow available or recycling that, demonstrating that in applications where rapidly renewable material can be employed, at least 50% are used in the structure or building. Application of modular and standardized design in buildings. Manufacture of 50 to 80% of the listed building elements has been offsite. That is, I do not spend much energy or much effort at the project site. I create them and bring them at site. But wherever I'm talking about cast in situ, obviously it has to be done there. So in that, what component can be brought in, which basically have a better quality and better manufacturing benefits there, they will be helpful in reducing my carbon footprint. Virgin forest products are not used for temporary working. Let's say if you have to do staging, scaffolding, or whatever, and you are using the virgin timber, it will be basically a black process. You need to have green process, and that means something which is recycled or which is not virgin forest product. Sourcing timber and composite timber products which are from well-managed sources, including reuse of salvage timber, as best as we can do, so that the material's carbon footprint is the least. Use of 50% of recycled material at site exterior surfacing works, structures, and features. When I have the open area, I need to cover it, and that coverage can be done by the recycled material or that can be done by the new material. If I'm using new paver blocks, obviously I'll be spending energy, spending carbon to do that. And if I do that, it's waste. Design providing flexibility through the choice of building structural system that allows for changes in future use and which is coordinated with the interior planning modules. If I have, let's say, even if I'm making a camp, and if that camp can be modular and that can be removed and recycled, which naturally major construction organizations do use. They do not go for a local construction. They would have the modular systems, and if that is used, obviously you will be using less carbon there. Designs providing spatial flexibility. Use of products in the building fabric and services that avoid the use of ozone depleting substances in their manufacture or composition or use. Use of 5% of the recycled material other than fly ash in the construction of building, maximizing the use of fly ash and similar in concrete. So if I do this, basically my system is green. The next is with the minimum 15% replacement of Portland cement with fly ash, I can go on reducing. Let's say if I reduce it by 15%, I get 1 point. If I go down by 30%, I get another 1 point. If I go down by another 40%, 10%, that is 40%, then I get another 1 point. If it is above 40%, I get 1 more point. So let's say if somebody has done it more than 40%, then he will get 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So he'll get 4 points or 4. The score will go up by 4. Suddenly, if the certify a minimum 30% replacement of Portland cement with fly ash in plaster. The first one was for the structural concrete. The other is the plastering when we are doing. So it's again the same cycle. So it is 30%. Then reduction of material consumption from standard material consumption, the rate by 5%. Reduction of material consumption from the standard material consumption rates by 5 to 10%. 1 score. And then 10 to 15%. So this, how do I achieve it, is something which I need to know, and I need to just give a self-declaration today that this is what I'm achieving, and that's why my score is coming this. If required, a detailed analysis would be done, and detailed evaluation would require defining that how it was done. As on date, we are just taking the self-declaration form so that we can get the basic information for the project. The next group is energy investment during construction. When I'm constructing my structure, I'll be using material which had required or which had used energy in preparation or in development. Okay. Now that particular energy is something which is invested in the construction. It means the energy spent during the preparation or manufacture of the material, and energy spent during the construction of the structure. All that is covered in this particular section. If the embodied energy, the energy which is spent to make a unit of a particular component of your structure is saved, that basically means you will be able to reduce some carbon footprints. Let's say you are making glass plate, and that glass plate is going to be used as a panel or as a wall. That basically means you'll be spending certain kilojoules of energy to prepare, to melt the sand, silica, float it, and create the glass. In comparison to that, if you are using gypsum, in comparison to that, if you are using clay bricks, and you create another type of wall where that particular energy is not spent, obviously there will be a reduction of energy spent, and this goes for anything and everything. So if you are able to reduce it by 10%, 10 to 15%, then that goes for the major elements. Then the next set is for sub-assemblies and smaller components. Then comes flooring, and then the windows and doors. Everywhere, wherever your material which is being used, if it is consuming more energy, obviously that is darker, then less energy ones which are greener. So this is what we look at, the energy investment during construction. The next set is energy expenses during the usage. When I've made a structure, what is going to be the energy requirement? Let's say if I make a pipeline which has a meandering line, if that is happening, to run that pipeline, the kind of energy I'll be spending to pump the fluid is going to be much more than the energy needed for pumping a line which is straight. But depending on the design or depending on the requirement, we have to see to it that whatever the project needs, that has to be done. But if it is green, fine. If it is not, you can't help it. You have to take it as a fait accompli. Now, when we talk about energy expenses during the usage, we have to specify the certified energy efficiency appliances, luminous efficiencies. When we talk about, it is basically the lights. If we are talking about LEDs, obviously it will be better than your normal filament lights, tube lights, automatic controls for 100% outdoor lights. All these come under the energy expense during the usage. So we have to see to it that those things are contained, and the least energy is spent. The lesser the energy I spend, the greater points I score in my this rating. If the reduction in energy consumption is 10% and benchmark figure, and the thermal comfort criteria is fully met, this is for the heating and cooling effort. So there also it comes 10, then 11 to 20%, 21 to 30%, 31 to 40%, and if it is above 40%. So this is where we talk about the heating or cooling efficiencies. We have to talk, this is basically when my structure is completed, whether it's a normal house, building, or any other structures which are under evaluation. Complying with recommendation, installation position of air conditioners with regard to internal space. So all these define, and these have to say, if your project is not employing, say for an example, air conditioners, if you're making a pipeline project, obviously air conditioners might not be needed for your project. In such situation, all the projects which are coming in your category will also be in the same situation. They will not be employing air conditioners. And obviously that score, when we are comparing, we don't require that score. We'll be comparing a pipeline project or an infrastructure project with an infrastructure project. So obviously all those things which go in for your kind of project, please indicate that, otherwise go for not applicable. Okay. The next category is indoor environmental quality. What kind of environmental quality my structure is providing? If it's a building, it's indoor quality. If it is normal structure, it will be the quality around the structure. Demonstrating design integration between the fire service system, communication system, and non-fire services system. Designs that meet the electromagnetic compatibility requirements in respect to power quality, low frequency, magnetic fields, designs that reduce the potential for transmission of harmful bacteria, viruses, odors, provision for hygienic refuse. Please mind it, all these points you have to evaluate your project and say yes, no, or not applicable. Based on that, you will be going for your evaluation. I believe all these are understandable. We'll move to the next set. We are talking about VOC paints, that is volatile organic component paints. So in case if your VOC paint is prevented, you always score a point. If they are not, then you have something, especially when you're talking about internal painting of any structure. Obviously, it will be epoxy or some kind of things. So naturally, they will not be harmful. So each of those projects or each of those activities will define what kind of scoring you are getting from that particular criteria. The next set is renewable energy. Obviously, this is clear, and I have been receiving confirmation that almost everybody is clear about it, that whatever renewable energy components which they are using, are they able to save some kind of energy, and how much they are saving that energy is basically defined, and based on the rate of saving or quantum of saving what we are achieving, you score, and you have to respond in the format or questionnaire. Where do you stand? Do you stand at point 1, 2, 3, or 4? So this is your renewable energy segment. Then comes the next set, which is waste management during construction. This is a very, very important component because this defines how you are actually working and how did your project function. If your C&D waste, as construction and demolition waste, exceeds any level, that basically, or rather it's generated to any level, this basically spoils the whole local environment. And if that is there, you had a very, very bad carbon footprint. So how did you manage your waste is identified in this particular category. And this basically says how did you sort it out, how did you dispose it of, how did you reuse and recycle, and those questions and those points will have to be identified here. Naturally, all these points what we are talking, or these 144 points, would be evaluated if we want to go for an in-depth green rating with the certification, and the certification has its own benefits as we know. The next set is about waste management during usage. When I'm using my structure, what kind of wastes are being generated? Are they negligible? Are they manageable? Are they normal, or are they enormous? If they're enormous, my project is bad, and I may end up reaching that 1.8 crore penalty or even higher from the green building. And that is where our endeavor is to prevent your structure, or rather our structure, I would say, your and CIDC. When we award the project, naturally that becomes our structure as well, in addition to you. So our structure should not end up being penalized. So if there are situations or possibilities where the waste management during the usage is going to be high, we need to identify that. And how do we identify that? You identify that. You identify that there, and you say that fine, these are the things which can be harmful at a later date. That may not be a part of your contract, but then that could be addressed and those penalties could be avoided. It can also provide some benefit or additional work for your organization. So these are few of the points. That treated water should meet the prescribed disposal standards, provision of multicolored bins, if you're talking about the wastage, allocate separate space. See, these are the normal waste management during the usage. But then in case if you have an industrial plant, like one of the projects which we did visit recently, had a big amount of waste being disposed. Now that waste disposal has to be seen or addressed so that it does not spoil the environment. The best thing would be zero waste. Whatever coming in is being utilized, but then that is ideal situation, may or may not be possible. But anyway, that is the objective of the green evaluation, so that we can successfully prevent such kind of waste generation. The third last is the water usage and recycling. Obviously, one of the major difficult portfolio for all the construction professionals, because water is something for which we face difficulties in our project. How are we managing our water supplies? How are we managing its usage? And how are we recycling it so that it can be the maximum benefit out of that can be achieved? That is covered, or those points are covered in this. Please see to it that you are saving water at all costs. If you're saving water at all costs, naturally you are green. And if you are green, obviously these things come in. And there are parameters, how do you reuse, or rather there are criteria of the scoring. So in case if you reuse up to 25%, you get 1 point. If you use up to 50%, you get 1 plus 1, 2 points, maybe 75%, 3 points, so on and so forth. So this is the way you can run, you can evaluate yourself. And in case if you find that there are possibilities of enhancing the water recycling or usage efficiency, please follow that. That will also help the whole system or construction industry, and for that matter, for the whole nation. The second last is operation and maintenance. The structure what you have created, are the facilities or systems created for it are beneficial or helpful in operating and maintaining it? If yes, very nice. If no, we have to see to it that they become user friendly and the structure can function properly. There are criteria or categories defined here, criteria defined here, that how your operation and maintenance is being performed. There are documentation requirements, there are system requirements, there are protocol requirements, and those are identified here. Based on that, we see, or you and we both see that is my system really green or not. That is my operation and maintenance. The last one is innovation and performance enhancement. This basically is a section where you run your ideas, you present your ideas that this is what you did specifically to enhance the greenness of your project. Here, the topics are not predefined, they have to be identified by you, and the scoring would be provided according to the inputs what have been provided by you. Basically, this would be something which will be enhancing the overall greenness evaluation system. And that is what will be defined by you and evaluated by the evaluators of the CCGR process. So this brings me to the complete CCGR response format. My concluding remarks is all the best. Please win with all your might. Now, with this particular situation, I would be going for question and answer, but before going to that, I would like to welcome our Director General, Dr. P.R. Swaru, to speak with you, and at the same time, join us for the question and answer session so that we can discuss and find the ways and means. So, can I request Dr. P.R. Swaru to join the presentation? I'll be stopping my screen share.
Yes, Niranjan, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, let me welcome all the participants. I can see the kind of overwhelming response. There are many of you who are there, and there are many of you who have not been able to make it today also. But it doesn't matter, because this whole proceeding is being recorded and we are going to be placing on CIDC YouTube channel. You can have a look at it. Many of them have also joined live on the YouTube, and I'm sure the numbers will come to us. But the idea basically is to let all the contestants understand that getting award is a transitory process. You can stand first in your class, but then you have to understand that there are many more classes to go. So there is no award that has been given to anybody in the world, including the Nobel Award, that basically stops the growth and progress and adoption of the good practices. So the message that I have to give to all of you, that it is all about adoption of good practices. How do we do that? There are two very simple methods, and I'm going to give you these two methods. One is to get educated yourself, teach yourself, and then teach others also. Because you belong to a number of very good organizations, and all of you have had the courage to really go and, like they say, throwing the gauntlet actually to vie for this award. So it means that prima facie, you are all very confident. But you happen to be representing your organization. There are hundreds and thousands of other engineers and workers and supervisors who are connected to you. and basically make sure that all of them, they get into study and teaching mode both ways. The simple method of doing that is, and I know that most of the project people, they have tremendous pressure on their working. They generally have this particular situation where they cannot go and have the kind of luxury of participating in the workshops, in the conferences and things like that. So now with all the videos that are being recorded, and believe you me, there are multiple kind of issues that you need to learn and understand. They are all hosted on CIDC YouTube channel. So my recommendation will be that you can subscribe to that. There is no cost involved there. Encourage your colleagues and friends also to subscribe to that and have a look at all those videos. Go through that at leisure. You can do it whenever you are holidaying, vacationing, or during the off hours, because education has to come at all point in time. The way we would realize that you have really sensitized yourself is that after you have gone through the lecture, which is available on the video, make 10 multiple choice questions and send it back to us. This is going to add up further points to your candidature, in the sense that we will be very convincingly be able to tell the jury that here are the companies who are genuinely trying to kind of improve their lot. They want to enhance their knowledge, because as I told you, it is all about the kind of good practices that you have to inculcate, and these things only come when we educate ourselves. The second thing that I would like to suggest is that while subscribing this channel, also spare some time to visit various engineering institutes anywhere in the country, and CIDC will facilitate movement of these people. You can go there, meet up with the students, meet up with the young faculty members, teach them what all you have learned. I give you one example. I was in Bangalore just about 4 days ago, and Bangalore Larsen and Tubro is executing a very complicated project, which involves basically tunneling operation, piling operation, concreting, control, all kind of things. As a matter of fact, even to make the health check of the kind of structures around, because this one is a very complicated project being executed right in the heart of Bangalore city, and that too part of the old Bangalore city. When I looked at it, I asked the project manager, whose name is Mr. Sridharan, and I believe some of you from L&T also have joined. I said, what exactly are you doing to make sure that the sterling work that a company like yours is doing, which I expect anyway, is being disseminated and is being given to the young minds so that they can also learn a few things from here. And he said that, we are doing it, but colleges are not approaching us. So we said we will facilitate that. And just the next day, I had visited a college right in Bangalore itself, and I had instructed them to organize a lecture where Mr. Sridharan and his colleagues can come and they can share with them the kind of vital details. You see, what happens is that when we have this kind of an education, it is a win-win for all. You are able to find out the kind of bright talent which your organization might be needing tomorrow. You are able to kind of transfer the kind of know-how that you have gathered so seriously and with so much of effort, for that matter, labor. So this benefits everyone. Like I recall uh, in the famous play of Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice, they were talking about the virtues of mercy, and mercy is almost akin to education. And I can tell you the gist of it because it is basically in a poetic form. But then the simple thing that was told by the lady Portia to protect her husband, who was basically going to be assaulted by the Merchant of Venice, he said, mercy is, she said, and she was basically in the guise of a lawyer, and she was kind of trying to protect her husband. So she said, mercy is spontaneous and it benefits the one who giveth and also the one who taketh. And the same situation is for the education also. So I would also like all of you, apart from the things that I have told you, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to go through the lectures. I would also like you to basically send me an expression of interest from your organization that you are willing and desirous of basically grooming the young minds around. It doesn't cost anything. The knowledge and wisdom is the best when it comes from the people who practice it. And you are all the guys who are practicing it. So follow good practices. What Professor Swaroop was talking about the green practices, please follow that, because that is something which is extremely important in today's context. Globally, we are being rated as one of the biggest polluters, and I think we have to come out of that kind of a stigma. So let us be very careful. Let us look each and everything, because perfection has no limits. And believe you me, every year in subsequent Vishwakarma awards also, the ante is going to be raised up. We really are looking for those who are sensitive, who are educated, who are willing to educate, who have some kind of a liking to pursue excellence. And I trust all of you. You are all in pursuit of excellence and you will not fail me. So thank you once again and best of luck to all of you to win the accolades that you would be deserving so richly, but prepare for that. God bless you all. And now you can begin with the question answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I believe Neeraj or Anand, can you unmute people? Because still now people are muted. Okay, I have given the confirmation to all the participants for them to unmute themselves. So you can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, this is Vishwanath from Shapurji Palanji.
Yes, Mr. Vishwanath.
Sir, thank you very much for shedding a lot of light on this particular aspect of evaluation. I have two things on this. One is, as contractors, sometimes we may get clients who are opting for rating system in green buildings. Second thing, sometimes we may not get it. It's not our choice. Being in a contracting situation, we can't pick and choose. So my question to you, sir, is how does it create a same level field, playing field for a project where the client themselves are not, I mean, many of the clients are going for rating system now, but many of them may not go, including the multinationals, even though they adopt all good practices. But formal rating is something which is the prerogative of the owner. That is number one. Number two, many times we may not be privy to the other design aspects like energy saving and other aspects. It depends on the type of contract we do. Suppose if we get everything as a general contracting, then we will be able to get all the information. So, I mean, these are my two questions. It may be the level playing field when it comes to an evaluation system.
Yeah. Let me translate that as I have understood. Let me rephrase that. First is that you are saying that the getting a rating is a prerogative of the project owner, and as a contractor, you do not have any say in that. I do agree, or we do agree that yes, that is the prerogative of the owner, project owner. Now here comes a situation where we are having two projects with almost similar remarks or comments from our evaluators. There has to be some kind of evaluation scale by which we can find out that this project is faring better on the greenness of the system. And that is what we are trying to do in this particular process. Okay. So that is the response to you. And it does not require any of your employer's decision whether he wants to get rated or not. It is evaluation process by which we are seeing that whether you are going for, you are green or not. So that is one thing. Second, you said that you are not privy to the design aspects, or you are not privy to the decisions what owner has taken. Yes, you are not. But then these things, the questions or the criteria frozen is something, or defined, is something which is basically linked to the project activities. Say you have a defined methodology, a method statement, which is matching with the National Building Code, or which is matching with the Green Tribunal's requirement or CRZ requirements. If it is matching there, or if your contract document says that it is matching that and you are meeting those requirements, you are green. See, at the end of the day, my measuring scale are the stipulations or the laws decided by the governance of India. Whatever laws or whatever rules which have been put in place, if I follow that, I am green. If I better that, I'm greener. But then if I, and then I go to the last section, that 13th section. But generally, if I follow that, I come under those 12 sections which we have identified. Okay. My objective is that, let's say if a specific requirement or criteria is defined that this is green, I have an option to use it, I have an option to ignore it. If I'm using it, if I'm doing it, I'm greener. And that is what we want to establish here. See, that is the way you will be a role model to all other construction companies. Shapoorji Pallonji, I believe, builds buildings. And if you're making buildings, obviously, your buildings, if they are greener, they would be loved by the buyers, they would be top of the town, isn't it?
Yeah, my only submission was,
Sir.
Yes, the construction period, we are facing, I mean, we are following all the greener aspect, like conserving water, conserving energy, and conserving all other natural resources. That during construction, definitely yes, waste disposal, everything, because we have our own system.
Correct.
So, and we are also certified for environmental management system. So that gives us for our operations. So that gives us inherent greener aspects. But after construction is my area of concern, where it goes to the client.
Yeah, it goes to the client. There's no confusion about it. It's agreed. See, tomorrow you build a multi-story structure, and then your user or your buyer comes and demolishes 4 walls here, opens a window there. Okay, what can you do about it? You made a house which is green, and he made sure that it becomes gray or it becomes black. What can you do? We are grading you today. We are not grading you for in future.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that is what is the point.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. See, the workshop is for clarifying doubts of, see, these forms have been filled by the Vishwakarma Award applicants. So obviously, if they have any issues or they have any doubts or confusion, we would like to clarify those.
Sir, good evening, sir. Saran from L&T.
Yes, Mr. Umesh. Sorry, your
Saravanan. Yes.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Saravanan. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Regarding the green rating form, sir, we are having an option yes or no. There is no not applicable option. What we have to do in case it is not applicable to our process?
I'm saying please indicate that not applicable.
Okay. Regarding rating, sir, you have told 1 to 5 rating, sir. But how we can able to put that rating, sir?
You are not putting that rating.
Only yes or no.
You are simply scoring the points out of those 144 criteria.
And the percentage, how they decide?
Percentage, sir. The percentage, how the jury will be deciding, sir?
See, it is basically, if you feel that you are saving 10%, you indicate 10%.
Okay, sir.
We are taking it as a self-declaration today.
Okay, sir.
In case if it is felt that we have to go for a detailed evaluation, we have to go for a certification process, then it will be evaluated and our questions would be asked to you that what is your actual energy consumption and how much energy consumption you have achieved. I mean, like, what is the theoretical energy consumption and what is your real energy consumption? So if those numbers can be established, nothing like it.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. See, this form is self-declaration form, and it basically gives us the first step towards knowing whether you are green or not.
So this need to be handed over. This particular form need to be handed over at the time of expert evaluators, those who are visiting our site.
Yeah, they've been emailed to everybody, and if not, indicate to the VKA team. They will send it by email. I will also share this presentation.
Yeah, we have received the green rating form and other instructions.
Yes.
We are in the process of now fulfilling it because we are studying in detail, and we'll hand over the form to our evaluators when they will visit the site. Thank you.
Fair enough. This presentation is also available to you. I'll be handing it over to the VKA team. Please do get it if you want. Or this live stream is also going to be on the YouTube, CIDC YouTube, so you can see there. But what I've tried to do here is to give you the philosophy of this particular evaluation, so that when you respond to it, you know what you are doing. It should not be a blank response. Yes, Galaxy A70. So please unmute and indicate your point. Professor Bikash. Yes, Professor. Professor Panda.
Yes, sir.
You want to say something?
Sir, my question is, while building a project, how we will confirm that CFC and HCFC that has been not used in HVAC system?
You will be you'll have the procurement systems, you will have the contract documents which would say that these things have to be avoided. If those contract documents do not say that particular term, that means the contract is open to having a CFC material or not non-CFC material. Okay. So at the stage of construction, we would know from the contract, and this would be seen when we go for detailed evaluation or in-depth grading process.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Today, what we are doing is we are asking you to define it, and we expect you whatever you are saying is correct. It's just like filing the income tax return. Yes, Mr. Hassan, please tell me.
Sir, I have one question. I am GMC. We are working as a water division, and there is a little bit a green area. So how can define? Yeah, how can I categorize the?
Sir, can you be a bit more elaborate? What do you mean by green area? The landed area which is green?
Yeah, landed area is green because of
So what is the point? What is the question?
But as per your documentation, how can put yes or no?
No. See, the thing is, I'm not talking about that green area. I'm talking about your activities which are green or not.
Yeah,
Okay.
our activity is a water supply project. It is green. No?
No. Let's say your activity is water supply. Take an example that water supply pipeline is to be laid on the ground. Okay. Now,
Inside.
if it is below the ground surface, that means you'll be excavating a trench, laying the pipe and backfilling it as per your contract terms, or you may be using trenchless technology, drilling or pipe jacking or whatever, and placing your pipe.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
when you are excavating a trench, there is a possibility that you will be doing a confined excavation. There is a possibility you will be doing a stage excavation, or there is a possibility you will be doing a complete slope. Okay. Now, if you do a complete slope, that basically means you will be damaging all the flora, fauna, structures, building, everything in the right of way. Everything will be damaged. Compared to that, if you do a confined excavation, your damages would be reduced to a certain extent, maybe 10%, 20%, 30%, or whatever. So in case if you are going for a confined excavation, you're greener than the open trench. Okay, so that is what is your, that is defined by your contract. And in that contract, there are always leeways. And that is where your decisions or your judicious decisions do play a role. And we want to see that those decisions are judicious and they are green. Am I able to convey?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? See, you may be using bricks, you may be using concrete. Now, while using concrete, you may be using concrete mixed with like the cement mixed with fly ash. You may not be using cement mixed with fly ash. Choice is yours, and choice is on the contract, in the contract as well. So, if your contract is permitting you and you are using that, nothing like it. You are green.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. And for the benefit of all, in case I believe that some of the forms have been filled up and sent to us, some of the forms are in the process of being filled up, and some of the forms will be filled up. Those who have already filled up and filled and send the forms to us, if they want to revise the form or they want to revise their submission, please do send the revised forms to us immediately so that we can replace the old ones. I think Mr. Ganeshan Kappan has some question to ask. Mr. Ganeshan? If no further questions are coming to me right now, what we can do is we can close the session now. The presentation would be available with the VK team, and please collect that from the team. In addition to this, the recording would be on the website, and not there at the end. My number is given in the presentation. It's also available on our website. You can directly communicate with me if there are any doubts or questions about the CCGR form filling protocol or their requirements. I'll be too happy to provide all the inputs. I can be contacted by email, that is CIDC@CIDC.in, or I can talk if somebody wants to speak. So I think if all is fine, then should we close this session?
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. It was Pleasure speaking with all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
All the best to all the participants.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
to see everybody on 7th March.
Thank you,
Great, sir.
sir.
Great, sir.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.